Okay, I guess we'll start now. So this week for week 12, the pop culture group did Marvel. So Marvel Entertainment was founded on June 1988, and it was based in New York City. They in 2009, Walt Disney Company got Marvel for $4 billion, and they specialize in superhero fiction. They have a bunch of products other than their movies. So they have books, they have comics, podcasts, video games, and webcasts. And the picture shows the most famous, or basically all of the Marvel superheroes. So they have several partnerships with other companies. In 2019, they had a film licensing agreement with Sony Pictures, which was for the Spider-Man films. They had a film licensing agreement with Universal Pictures, and they had a theme park agreement with IMG Worlds of Adventure and Universal Parks and Resorts. The characters and properties appeared at Disney parks. Okay, so currently there are 8 Spider-Man movies, and the first was released in 2002, which was called Spider-Man. The most recent was released in 2019, which is Spider-Man Far From Home. The seventh Spider-Man movie, which is the one next to, like, the second to last, is called Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, which is actually an animation. And the Spider-Man universe has 3 main characters, which is Andrew Garfield, Tobey Maguire, and Tom Holland. These are the actors. So Spider-Man Far From Home is the most recently released one, which is starring Tom Holland, and the movie grossed over $340 million worldwide. It stars well-known actors like Zendaya and Samuel L. Jackson. The movie is about Spider-Man's fight against unknown monsters that appear out of nowhere, and he also teams up with a new hero called Mysterio, who, spoiler, later betrays Spider-Man. So there's a new movie called Spider-Man No Way Home that is set to release December 17th, 2021.
The next movie we're going to talk about is Iron Man. So Iron Man was released in 2008, and it was the first ever film that Marvel ever released. So you guys may have heard of it. So the plot of Iron Man is just the main character named Tony Stark is trying to escape his enemies. And in order to do so, he built himself clothing made out of iron, which is why he's called Iron Man. And this clothing is special because it lets him fly. He can shoot fire from his hands, and he can do a lot of other cool stuff as well. How this movie was received is, in total, it earned $585.8 million, that being US dollars, and it's rated a 94 because every movie that is released has a rating from 1 to 100, with 1 being the worst and 100 being the best. And this movie was also very popular, so that 2 more sequels were made that also include the same characters and a similar plot.
Okay, so the next movie I'm gonna talk about is Captain America. To be more specific, the first Avenger. Captain America, the first Avenger, is a 2011 superhero film, which is based on the Marvel comic superhero of the same name. It is the 5th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the 5th film of Phase 1. The film was released on July 22nd, 2011 in the United States, and on July 29, 2011 internationally. The film spawned 2 sequels, which are Captain America, The Winter Soldier in 2014, and the other one, which is Captain America, Civil War in 2016. So here is a summary for Captain America, the first Avenger. It is 1941, and the world is in the throes of war. Steve Rogers, which is played by Chris Evans, wants to do his part and join America's armed forces, but the military rejects him because of his small stature. Finally, Steve gets his chance when he's accepted into an experimental program that turns him into a super soldier called Captain America, joining forces with Bucky Barnes, which is played by Sebastian Stan and Peggy Carter. Captain America leads the fight against the Nazi-backed Hydra organization.
Okay, so I guess I'll talk about the Black Panther. So Black Panther was released on February 16th, 2018. Black Panther is a 2018 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics. It was produced by Marvel Studios and distributed by Walt Disney Studios Motion Pictures. It was the 18th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Some of its accomplishments include it was the third highest grossing film domestically of all time, with a total of 1.344 billion USD. It won 3 Oscars. And basically, this movie is about a dude named T'Challa who goes by the nickname Wakanda. He basically saves his own city from other villains in the movie.
Okay, so this is Guardians of the Galaxy, and personally, for one team member, they think it's the best one out of the whole franchise. The movie is directed by James Gunn, and it's a fun and weird movie. It's a group of misfits band that form together to form a space task force, and they go around collecting bounty and fight extraterrestrial beings. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, we'll wait for 7 more minutes until our teacher from history to come, okay? Feel free yeah, thank you. Feel free to take a break before let me see the time. Before 8:20.
Okay, hello everybody, and history will begin soon. Also, I need permission for screen sharing.
Okay, Joshua, could you set Kevin as the host? And then on the screen share, there's a upside down arrow. I mean, like the arrow shape, and you allow multiple participants can share simultaneously, and I think everyone can share. Oh yeah, I already allowed the screen share.
Okay, so welcome to this week's history class. This week we are going to be talking about the next part of medieval Europe, which is the early Middle Ages. We are specifically going to be talking about the Holy Roman Empire, the feudalism and knights. So this is our teaching plan from before. Yeah, check out our YouTube channel for previous lessons. And here's the brief timeline of medieval Europe. Today, we are going to be mostly covering the early Middle Ages or the Dark Ages, which as you can see is from 5th century to 10th century AD.
All right, so Ring a Ring of Rosies. This is actually an English folk song that was originally used in playground games, but it has somewhat of a dark history. So there is somewhat of a tragedy behind the nursery rhyme, and basically it describes when the Black Death, or as we know it nowadays, the bubonic plague, broke out in Europe. And because many people were in a frenzy before they died as a result of um, basically the symptoms of the disease. People ran to the street, danced, and then died and fell. And because the corpse carts were covered with flowers to hide the smell of the corpse, the ashes of the burned corpses floated in the air. So yeah, this is a pretty dark nursery rhyme if you look at the history. So there's actually a famous bone church in the small town of Kutner Ola, which is 70 kilometers east of Prague. And the candlesticks, the chandeliers, the decorations are all made of different parts of human bones. And really, it's not surprising in Europe that there are many similar human bone churches in the cities, because after the middle of the 14th century, the Black Death took about 25 million people, which is nearly half of the total population of Europe at the time in a few years. And if you actually go to France, and if you go down underneath France, there exists what are called the catacombs, or the remains of millions of humans are buried there. Next slide. The early Middle Ages. So the early Middle Ages is really the period from the fall of the Western Roman Empire in 476 AD to 1000 AD. So after Roman law or society fell, feudalism filled in the gap. And for a lot of the time, these were small kingdoms that took control of the area. There was much fighting and death, not very much stability. Local leaders took control, and they really did abandon Roman ideas and advances. For instance, um, for instance, many ideas that the Romans had included stable architecture, ideas of a republic, and that of a senate. By the time we had feudalism, all of that had been forgotten. Next slide. Thank you. So many parts of Europe were controlled by a tribe called the Franks. And one of the biggest and most powerful Frankish military leaders was named Charles Martel. And he had the strongest army in Europe since Rome. And at the Battle of Tours in 732 AD, Martel defeated the Muslim army of the Umayyad Caliphate and limited them to the bottom portion of Spain. This battle, Tours, is probably the most important battle in the Middle Ages, because without this battle, Muslim forces would have likely advanced through Spain and overtaken France for a long time. Next slide. Thank you. So for many centuries, again, the Holy Roman Empire ruled for much of Europe. And these lands now include what are now Germany, Austria, Czech Republic, Switzerland, the Netherlands, Belgium, Luxembourg, Eastern France, parts of northern and central Italy, and also portions of the Balkans. However, the Holy Roman Empire lost a lot of its power, and technically it lasted until 1806. But it's an important it's a misnomer. It's not really holy, it's not really Roman, it's not really an empire. It's basically a united kingdom of many little small kingdoms. After the fall of the Western Roman Empire, again, Charles Martel became very powerful, and in the 1800s, Pope Leo III, who was the head of the Roman Catholic Church, made Charlemagne the emperor of the new Holy Roman Empire. Take note, Charlemagne's grandfather is Charles Martel. So that's an important connection to make. However, soon after Charlemagne's death, the empire broke apart. Again, like I said earlier, it's not really an empire. And so the eastern part became known as, well, it's not really Germany at this point, but you have Brandenburg, you have Saxony, you have Prussia, you have Austria-Hungary, and these small kingdoms continued to emperor. So local German rulers, which are called electors, elected a German king. And if the Pope agreed with the choice, he crowned the king emperor. And here we have some pictures of artifacts and paintings of the era. For example, over here to the left, we have the orb of the Holy Roman Empire, and it represented the office of king and emperor. It is in the Hofburg Treasury, which is in Vienna, in Austria. And to the right over here, we have Otto III, who was crowned Holy Roman Emperor in 1996. Though he had since been the German king since 983. Next slide. Now, in the middle of the 1900s, the Saxons, which we draw the name of Saxony from, ruled the empire. And Otto III, who ruled between 983 and 1002, which is a period of 19 years, made Rome, which is in Italy, his capital. And the emperors of the Hohenstaufen family gained power in 1138. Frederick I Barbarossa added the word holy to the name of the emperor. And this was because he wanted as much respect and prestige as the Pope had. And it's important to note, the Catholic Church is very powerful in the feudal period. So in 1273, the Habsburg family, they're very famous throughout history. They even exist nowadays. Took control of Germany and centered their power in Austria. And Habsburg kings often took the title of emperor, even without the Pope's allowance. And they ruled the Holy Roman Emperor almost continuously for 1452 to beyond. And it's important to note that the very last emperor of the Holy Roman Emperor, I think his name is Franz Joseph, is Austrian. Okay, so by the 1500s, during the Protestant Reformation, many Protestant leaders broke away from the church and weakened the empire. So by 1650, the empire was only a loose grouping of German states. Okay, yeah, so in 1806, Emperor Francis II, who was Austrian, ended the Holy Roman Empire, but he continued to rule. So as you can see here, the Holy Roman Empire is pretty big. While it's not the size of Rome, the Holy Roman Empire basically is all of Germany and a bit more in terms of territory. Yeah, next slide. All right, so the collapse of Byzantium. So although the emperors of Byzantine recaptured Constantinople from the Western Europeans in 1261, after what I think is the Fifth Crusade or the Third Crusade, they were never able to control much of the former lands, mostly because they were penned in on both sides. By one side, the Muslims, the other side, the Western Europeans. And so they only controlled a bit of the Balkans, which included the Kingdom of Serbia, the Bulgarian Empire, and the city-state of Venice. Oh, fun fact, Venice is actually eventually controlled by the French, and then during the Prussian Wars of 1850 plus, Venice would be given to Italy. All right, so the Byzantine empires were threatened by a new Turkish tribe, which were called the Ottomans. They had established themselves in the 13th century and expanded throughout the 14th century. And if you look up a map of Europe at this time, you can see that the Ottomans are basically in control of what is now Turkey, Bulgaria, parts of Austria-Hungary, Greece, and a lot of the Balkans. And so in 1366, Bulgaria is reduced to a vassal state. In 1389, Serbia is reduced also to a vassal state. And by 1396, a crusade was sent to the Balkans, where it is defeated by the Ottomans. And this leads to Constantinople falling into Ottoman hands by 1453. Next slide. Thank you. Feudalism. So we've done feudalism before, but I think it's important to do a review. And feudalism is the system of protection in return for service. You have kings at the very top, nobles, knights, peasants, and serfs. And a vassal is basically a person in an inferior position to another. For example, a king's vassals would be nobles. A noble's vassals would be knights, and so on and so forth. So kings, lords, and knights and aristocrats would grant lands, or as they were known back then, fiefs, to vassals, and it's the divine right of the king to rule. And because kings needed nobles and lords to provide armies, they granted them pieces of land. All right, so okay, go ahead.
Okay. So now we're gonna talk about the reading medieval knights. So knight is a cavalry who received formal military training in medieval Europe. So now we look at the word cavalry. Cavalry is actually, it usually means like a soldier who rides a horse, and later it evolves into an honorary title, which is used to express a social class. So this means that knight actually, this word is actually departed from, like detached from its actually meaning, and it evolved into a social class. And in medieval Europe, the nobles needed to raise an army for the king. Therefore, they will carefully train some young people to become knights. The knight's identities is often not inherited, and it is different from nobility. So inherited means when you are a knight, your son and the son of your son and the son of your grandson, they are also knights. So this is passed by generation. And nobility actually means the people like the aristocrats, or like the people who are rich or elite. And in addition to being able to obtain a fifth, like the nobility, the knight must also serve in the lord's army and bring his own weapons and horses into war. In knight's literature, knight is often a symbol of courage and loyalty. Every knight takes chivalry as the code and is the embodiment of hero, but not necessarily the actual situation. So, so in this sentence, chivalry is actually it's actually a code name. It looks like a code name for the spirit of a knight, or you can simply memorize it as as what you have as a gentleman. And the embodiment it actually means like if you see this guy, you know he is a hero. This is a embodiment, like an abstract concept is embodied into a concrete object, a realistic object. So the knight system in Europe is also similar to the samurai in Japan, but there's one thing that is different. That is the knight in Europe, there are actually formal armies, but the samurai in Japan, they're often like soldiers. Soldiers escape from the army, and they don't have the chivalry or or they are not embodiment of hero, but the system, like the hierarchy is actually similar. So why do we need knight at this time? It is because as we said before, in this period, there are a lot of wars, and there isn't a specific guy who rules the whole Europe. So it is very chaotic. So people need knights to protect themselves. So next slide, please. So now we're gonna talk about how to be a knight. This is the dream of every medieval boy to become a knight, and it is also the dream of a lot of people today. And as a beginning of the canonization ceremony, the recipient was simply patted on the right shoulder with a sword and given a name. However, over time, this process gradually became very difficult. The following is the process of a medieval boy becoming a knight. First of all, he should be born into an aristocratic family. In medieval Europe, this actually blocks a lot of most people from being a knight. And at the age of 7, he will be sent to another knight's house as a page. Uh, Actually, I'll say uh, as a student is fits better here. To learn various knight etiquettes. Uh, at the age of 14, he'll become a squire, receive various trainings, and learn chivalry. As I said before, this is kind of a spirit of a gentleman. So second, by the age of 21, he was ready to become a knight. So before becoming a knight, he'll first clean himself, and then put on white. Oh, so someone asked, what do I mean by aristocratic? So aristocratic it's actually another name for the noble or the nobility. We can simply understand it as like we can say duke, or like we can say like duke or some princes. They're all aristocratic families. So they basically means those in the upper class in the society. They are rich and they are elites, and their wealth are often inherited. And yeah, if you watch a lot of like medieval movies, you understand it. Next slide, please. Okay, okay. He'll first clean himself, and then put on white clothes and red robes. White clothes means cleanliness, and red robes means readiness to fight. And third, after putting on his clothes, he should prepare for the day, hold a sword, and pray to God in front of the shield. The prayer contents include asking God to forgive your sins, sanctifying yourself, promising to protect the church, and swear to eliminate the strong and support the weak. At this time, anyone who doesn't agree with the person obtaining the knight status can break the shield, and the person must defend their shield with their sword. So this is actually very close to a hero, because like you see the prayers needs you to swear to eliminate the strong and support the weak. But after all, the biggest disadvantages of of being a knight is that you must protect the church, which indicates that the church is actually still a very annoying and strong power in the medieval. So fourth, finally, he will be presented to the giver. The giver will flatten his sword and press it on his right shoulder. Sometimes there is a compassionate sword without a sword tip to perform this ceremony and give blessings. So notice that here it says a sword tip. So this tip means the top part of the sword, which is very sharp, and yeah, it is very sharp. This sword, uh, as we say, this sword is without a sword tip. It is actually not a sword for fighting. It is a sword for ceremony. And in this way, the canonization ceremony was completed and he officially becomes a knight. Very rarely, attendants are canonized on the battlefield for their bravery in battle. So, like the people who serve for their owners or landlords, they accidentally can be um, knights, but very rarely. So it takes 14 years to train a boy to become a knight. During this period, the trained boys had to follow the Lord's wife as waiters to learn etiquette. After that, he should learn the 7 skills of knights: swimming, shooting, fencing, riding, hunting, chess, and poetry, and work for the Lord or for training his knights. Um, After being a knight, he should follow the chivalrous spirit, such as loyal to the king or lord, protecting the church, women, and children, fighting against the strong and supporting the weak, and fighting bravely. There's a word adequate here. It also appears before. It is actually you can. It is a hard word, but you can simply understand it as like as some rituals or it's just like the 7 skills of the knights like things things the noble family or the noble kids needs to know. Okay, anyone continue? Okay, then I'm gonna continue. So, we know magic is very famous on the world, I don't know if you understand. I don't know if you've seen this. Maybe you know Harry Potter. So the tradition of magic is actually started. It's actually like became famous. Actually became famous in the medieval. So I'm gonna introduce medieval magic. So the initial form of magical behavior is related to religion. During the Roman conquest, they combined the beliefs of Greece and Middle East and Western Europe into their own religion, resulting in a religion mixed with magical acts. Um, in the Roman polytheistic belief, there is no clear boundary between magical behavior and religion. And magic is often a part of Roman religious rituals. Most of the Roman magic was similar to sacrificial rituals, such as predicting luck and victory by observing the internal organs of animals, casting spells on objects for good luck, and communicating with the dead or soul. So around the 5th century BC, Zoroastrianism was, I don't know how to pronounce this, but it doesn't really matter. You only need to like know there is such a religion. It was founded by a 30-year-old Zoroastrian priest, and this thing combines monotheism and dualism, which holds that the origin of the world is the two entities of consciousness and matter, and advocates that there is only one true God named Ormuzd and a ferocious god named Ahriman in the world. We need to look at the world. We need to look at the word monotheism, and we also saw the word polytheism stick before. So this actually means so monotheism actually means like the religion that believes in there's only one true God, like uh like Catholic uh like Catholic beliefs um or the Islams uh they both believe there's only one true God in the world. But polytheism means that the religion people who believes in the religion they believe in like multiple gods exist in the world. And we'll continue. The prince, Zoroaster, believed that the true God and the evil God had been fighting in the real world, but the true God will win in the end. These monotheistic remarks are evil and dangerous in the eye of polytheistic Greeks. So the word magic refers to the behavior of official religion at the time. So this actually describes the conflicts between the religion with only one god and the religion with multiple gods. And after the word was introduced into Rome, it was mainly used to describe deviation from Rome's official religion and fraud. So deviation means you go away from the you go away, or you wrongly took the wrong path from the correct path. And fraud means it simply means you are cheating, or you are not telling the truth, or yeah. Finally, what makes magic behavior really excluded by mainstream culture is the rise of Christianity. In 392, the Roman ruling authorities decided to abolish the anti-religious policy and designated Christianity as the state religion. Uh, so um, Recall what we learned before. Christianity is actually a religion created by the Jewish people, but it was spread into the it was spread into the Roman Empire. So since then, in this period, the emperor of the Roman Empire was Christian. So he believed in Christianity. Uh, so so he made this as the state religion. And since then, Christianity began to flourish and carried out many anti-heretical movements because Christianity believes in monotheism. The traditional Roman religion of polytheism is naturally regarded as an enemy and gradually declined. So this actually describes like the local religion was replaced. The local religion, so the original Roman religion was replaced by the Christianity. Um, and then the magic behavior in Roman religion is also in conflict with the Christian concept because it mostly involves the sacrifice to a variety of gods. It was unethical since it includes some very not really good practices like looking into the body of the animals. They just simply uh, cut cut the dummy of the animals and look into it. So it was unethical, considered by the Christians. So in the Christian world, the role closer to polytheism is the devil. Uh, so Magical behavior is regarded as related to the devil. Since then, magic has been officially eliminated from the mainstream European religious culture and classified as a kind of superstition. So from then on, you can see there are a lot of witch hunting in medieval history. That is because the magical behavior was related to the devil. So here we are looking at two different kinds of magics that are really popular in medieval. So the first is clairvoyance. As the name implies, it refers to people and events that can be seen far away from our time and space, and the ability of the prophets are mainly divided into three categories. So prophets means those who can see the clairvoyance. So this can be divided into three categories. The first is foreknowledge, which means seeing things in the future, and retrospect, seeing what happened before, and remote viewing, seeing what is happening now from a normal person's perspective, or from far away, from your body. In the history of Europe, famous figures in many religions claim that they had the ability of clairvoyance. For example, the famous Jesus was said to have the ability to remote the ability of remote viewing. Like he used to see himself from afar instead of using his eye. And the second ability is tempestory. Tempestory generally refers to the magicians disguised as ordinary people who can control the weather at will. So in the Middle Ages, the weather that these people could control was generally related to the growth conditions of plants, such as controlling the precipitations and lightning in this area. It is precisely because of this that the weather controllers were feared and resented by the European bottom class who depended on agriculture for a living. Because if this guy caused some thunderstorm, it will ruin the crops from the of the bottom class people. So it is dangerous. And I think this is the end of today's lecture. Thank you for watching.
Yep, thank you. And next up, we have science group.
Who goes first? Okay. So today we'll be talking about anatomy. In the first anatomy, like the first part of anatomy, we're gonna talk about is the skeletal anatomy. The skeletal like system is made up of bones, joints, and cartilage. Bones are so important that if we didn't have them, our body would be like jelly. Yeah. And then joints connect our bones and allow us to move. And when you like jump or like even walk, it's because of your joints. And then the cartilage helps protect our bones from wearing down and breaking. And so like we can use like our joints like longer. Yeah. And then a fun fact is actually that we have more than 200 bones in our body. Next slide, please. Okay. And the next slide, and the next part I'm going to be talking about is the digestive system. Okay, so it starts off when you like eat food, and when you eat food, you chew it into smaller pieces. After the food becomes smaller pieces, it mixes with the saliva from the salivary gland, which is the pink like oval like near the head. And then after that, the food goes down the esophagus and into the stomach. After the food leaves the stomach, digestive juices from the liver, stomach, and pancreas break down the food so like people kind of use the food as energy. And then after that, it goes to the small and oh, the components of the skeletal anatomy are the bones, joints, and the cartilage. Okay. After it goes to the small intestine, it goes to the large intestine where like water and minerals are like pulled out. After the water and minerals are drained, it leaves like the body in like the form of like poop. Yeah.
So the next one is the nervous system, and the nervous system is basically the system of your body, which is made up of nerves that send signals from your brain and the spine or your spinal cord to different parts of your body. So this system controls your basic things such as breathing, walking, thinking, and feeling. So how it works is that the nerves send messages to the brain so the brain can carry out the actions. For example, nutrients, hormones, and cellular waste products throughout the body. The heart, arteries, and veins and capillaries make up the system, and this system is the one that pumps blood to the rest of your body. These are our works cited, and that's it for biology.
Somebody asked in the chat, what is the components of skeletal anatomy?
Yeah, I answered that already, but okay. To recap, the components of skeletal anatomy are the bones, joints, and cartilage, which is like the first point on the slide.
Everyone wait a minute, I'm gonna switch devices real quick.
Someone also asked in the chat, are the nails considered a part of skeletal system? Can someone answer that?
No, the nails aren't. They're made out of a different substance, which creates your hair too. So they're just part of a different system. The skeletal system is like the bones in your body.
Okay, so this week for chemistry, we're going to be learning about periodic trends. So in the previous few weeks, we've overly repeatedly highlighted that there was a periodic table. So this week, we're going to look at 3 different patterns that you can find on the periodic table. So our first one is going to be called atomic radii. So what is a radii? So radii or radius is 1, radii is more than 1. That just means the length of the middle of a circle to the edge. So over here on, this is the right side, there's a circle with a line through it. If you go down to the middle point of the circle, hang on, let me turn on the pointer. So if you start around here where the middle is and all the way out to the edge, that is called a radius. If there were more than one, so basically this is 1 radius and then these are 2 radii. So the structure of an atom is more or less a sphere shape. A sphere shape is like a ball shape. So that would also have a radius. And every single atom has a different radius. So as you look at the periodic table, the atomic number is increasing. So hydrogen has 1. You'll see a periodic table in the next couple slides. You'll see it there. The larger the atomic number is, which is the number above the abbreviation letter, the larger the radius of that atom will be. Because there are more protons, neutrons, and electrons in the atom, so it'll be much bigger. Okay, the next trend we're going to talk about is called ionization energy. So here's a periodic table. It's a little small. So what is an ionization energy? So That's like the likeliness that you can make bonds with another atom. So you guys remember last week or a couple weeks ago, we talked about bonding and compounds. So this is like the likeliness that atoms will create bonds. So as you can see, this corner right here, the bottom left corner of the periodic table, has the lowest ionization energy. And as you increase, it increases going up, and it increases going right, and it also increases up diagonally. The atom with the largest ionization energy is the one over here, this top green one. It's a little blurry, but it's F, which is fluoride. Okay, and then this is our very last trend. It's called electronegativity. It's very similar to what we just talked about. So we said was like how ionization is how they bond, and electronegativity is a tendency to take an electron away from another atom. So for example, we didn't really go too deep into this before because it takes a lot of complications, but this one, this Na one, let's assume that it has one electron that's free hanging. And over here, we look at the Cl. This Cl has 7 free electrons. For an atom, its happy number is 8. So for Cl, it is very likely to take that free electron from Na to reach its happy 8, and then these two will create a bond together. So that is electronegativity. Similarly, you see how F also has a large electronegativity, and Cl also has a large electronegativity. And that will be all for today. Are there any questions? Okay, then I think that's all for the science, and thank you for coming, and we'll see you next week.
Yep, thank you everyone for coming this week. Today's lesson is over, and see you next week. Bye everyone.
Bye bye everyone.